Arrived at Goa, Xavier was shocked at the depravity of the people, settlers as well as natives. For the former had imported the vices without the restraints of civilization, and the latter had only been too apt to imitate their bad example. Passing along the streets of the city, sounding his handbell as he went, he implored the people to send him their children to be instructed. He shortly succeeded in collecting a large number of scholars, whom he carefully taught day by day, at the same time visiting the sick, the lepers, and the wretched of all classes, with the object of assuaging their miseries, and bringing them to the truth. No cry of human suffering which reached him was disregarded. Hearing of the degradation and misery of the pearl fishers of Mannar, he set out to visit them, and his bell again rang out the invitation of mercy. He baptized and he taught, but the latter he could only do through interpreters. His most eloquent teaching was his ministration to the wants and the sufferings of the wretched. On he went, his handbell sounding along the coast of Comorian, among the towns and villages, the temples and the bazaars, summoning the natives to gather about him and be instructed. He had translations made of the Catechism, the Apostles' Creed, the Commandments, the Lord's Prayer, and some of the devotional offices of the Church. Committing these to memory in their own tongue, he recited them to the children, until they had them by heart. After which he sent them forth to teach the words to their parents and neighbors. At Cape Comorian, he appointed 30 teachers, who under himself presided over 30 Christian churches, though the churches were but humble, in most cases consisting only of a cottage surmounted by a cross. Thence he passed to Travancore, sounding his way from village to village, baptizing until his hands dropped with weariness, and repeating his formulas until his voice became almost inaudible. According to his own account, the success of his mission surpassed his highest expectations. His pure, earnest, and beautiful life, and the irresistible eloquence of his deeds, made converts wherever he went. And by sheer force of sympathy, those who saw him and listened to him insensibly caught a portion of his ardor. Burdened with the thought that the harvest is great and the laborers are few, Xavier next sailed to Malacca and Japan, where he found himself amongst entirely new races speaking other tongues. The most that he could do here was to weep and pray, to smooth the pillow and watch by the sick bed, sometimes soaking the sleeve of his surplice in water, from which to squeeze out a few drops and baptize the dying. Hoping all things, and fearing nothing, this valiant soldier of the truth was borne onward throughout by faith and energy. "Whatever form of death or torture," said he, "awaits me, I am ready to suffer it 10,000 times for the salvation of a single soul." He battled with hunger, thirst, privations and dangers of all kinds, still pursuing his mission of love, unresting and unwearying. At length, after 11 years' labor, this great good man, while striving to find a way into China, was stricken with fever in the island of Sanshian, and there received his crown of glory. A hero of nobler mold, more pure, self-denying, and courageous, has probably never trod this earth. Other missionaries have followed Xavier in the same field of work, such as Schwartz, Carey, and Marshman in India, Gutzlaff and Morrison in China, Williams in the South Seas, Campbell, Moffat and Livingstone in Africa. John Williams, the martyr of Ermanga, was originally apprenticed to a furnishing ironmonger. Though considered a dull boy, he was handy at his trade, in which he acquired so much skill that his master usually entrusted him with any blacksmith's work that required the exercise of more than ordinary care. He was also fond of bell hanging and other employments which took him away from the shop. A casual sermon which he heard gave his mind a serious bias, and he became a Sunday school teacher. The cause of missions having been brought under his notice at some of his society's meetings, he determined to devote himself to this work. His services were accepted by the London Missionary Society, and his master allowed him to leave the ironmonger's shop before the expiry of his indentures. The islands of the Pacific Ocean were the principal scene of his labors, more particularly Huahine and Tahiti, Raiatea, and Rarotonga. Like the apostles, he worked with his hands, at blacksmith work, gardening, shipbuilding, and he endeavored to teach the islanders the art of civilized life, at the same time that he instructed them in the truths of religion. It was in the course of his indefatigable labors that he was massacred by savages on the shore of Eromanga, none worthier than he to wear the martyr's crown.